Hello. We are back. We're back with another one. Oh my god. Now you may be asking yourself, oh my god, Lorenzo, how long is he gonna be able to milk this topic for? The answer is a lot longer than you think, bitch. Okay. Today actually might be the last video of the ego. I could make more, but calling it a trilogy makes it sound so much cooler. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. So welcome to the trilogy finale of my ego mini-series. Today, as promised in the last one, we are going to be discussing a theory of multiple selves, a theory that I've created with my own mind, potentially my first and last original thought. Before we dive into this flawless theory, we first have to recap what we've covered in the rest of the trilogy for those new first-time viewers, which statistically is probably you. 99% of you are not subscribed yet. So, dare I say, if this video leaves you a little bit happier than you were before you watched it, this video leaves you a little more fulfilled than before you watched it, highly recommend checking that free subscribe button in the description. But yeah, enough of that YouTuber stuff. Let's move on to the recap. Here is what we covered so far in the ego series. We first started off by breaking down the ego, not in the bro got humbled way, but in the philosophical way. We realized that the self isn't some mystical, unchanging core, it's just a dynamic set of properties. Some of these mental and some of these physical. For example, hello, my name is Lorenzo. I have curly hair that is somewhat behaving today. I have a sister. My favorite ice cream is probably salted caramel, coffee, and hazelnut. I know, weird mixture, but hear me out. I was born in Portugal, yada yada. All of these properties make up the set, which is me, Lorenzo. Then in the last video, we took it one step further. If the ego is just a fundamental set of properties, what happens when those properties are rewritten? And that's what we called ego death. Now we've established two different types of ego death. We've established boundary ego death, which is when the boundary of the set dissolves and you start mixing into, well, everything else. And the second type of ego death that we established is substance ego death, where the properties within the set get rewritten so extremely that one could not possibly call that the same ego, i.e. you could not call that the same person. Which then brings us to today. If we do take ego death to be a true thing, if that is a possible thing, and someone's personality and someone's being, conscious state of being can be rewritten so entirely that they become someone else, ought we treat them as a separate individual? Now, this may seem like a baby step from the previous videos, but this has some insane implications. For example, should someone be punished for a crime they committed before their ego died? Should an indebted person have their debts completely removed after they experience ego death? It could even have implications in relationships. If your partner undergoes ego death, are you dating the same person? This question doesn't just change how we see ourselves. That was already pretty apparent. It changes how we see morality, how we see law, how we see our relationships with other people as such fundamental changes that I think it would be irresponsible not to acknowledge. And that's exactly where we're about to unpack today. Now, when I was thinking about how I was going to approach this question in this video, I wanted a way to really truly visualize it, a common ground that we can both look at and examine more than just a thought experiment, something a little more tangible. I wanted an example which really demonstrates that division of the self, an example which demonstrates what it's like to be just more than one person. And luckily, there is a show that does exactly that. Severance is a psychological sci-fi thriller centered around Lumen, a mysterious megacorporation that has developed a controversial brain-splitting procedure known as severance. This procedure divides a person's consciousness into two entirely separate identities, one that exists only at work, also known as the Innie, and one that exists only outside of work, also known as the Outie. Remember these two names, they will be incredibly relevant in the video. Employees who undergo severance have a microchip implanted into their brain that activates when they step into the Lumen office. The moment they enter this building, their personal memories disappear and their Innie self takes over, a consciousness that knows nothing about their outside life. The moment they leave work, the chip flips again and their Outie returns, completely unaware of what happened in the office. This means that the Innie only experiences work. They wake up at the office every day with no memory of ever being anywhere else. They don't remember their name, their past, or even why they chose to work at Lumen. Their entire existence is just an endless cycle of arriving at work, doing their job, and blacking out, only to wake up and repeat the process. Meanwhile, the Outie lives a normal life. They go home, spend time with family, and continue on as if nothing has changed. never knowing what actually happens inside of Lumen. They assume their innie is just doing their job and don't experience the psychological horror of being trapped in the office forever. Despite being the same person physically, the two versions of the employee are completely separate mental beings with no ability to communicate or share experiences. Over time, this forces them to develop into entirely different people. In Severance, it's not just that one self forgets what the other does, it's that they literally do not exist at the same time. Their experiences never overlap, their choices never aligned, and over time, for all intents and purposes, they are two separate individuals. The innie was never the one who signed up for this job. They just woke up in an office one day with no recollection of the past. The outie has no emotional connection to the innie because for them, the innie is just a function, not a person. Severance gives us an extreme, exaggerated example of something that's already happened and happening to all of us. Because think about it, what makes a story of the innie so tragic in the first place? It's not just that they're stuck at work, they never chose it in the first place. They never got to decide what kind of life or day they'd wake up into. They just opened their eyes and the decision has already been made for them. However, that's not just a sci-fi horror story, maybe it's an exaggerated one, but this is your life too. Because every single day you wake up in a reality that someone else has created. You don't get to negotiate it, you don't get to undo it, you just inherit it. And just like in Severance, that someone else, the one that made all of the choices, they just walked away. Because your past self, the version of you that existed all those months or years ago, was the one who made those choices. And just like the outie signing a contract, they never had to live with the consequences. But you do. You are the innie. Your habits, your work ethic, your fitness level, your relationships, your social circle, you didn't build those today. You've inherited those. Every decision that brought you here, someone else has made them. Your past self, the version that existed of you months or years ago, was the one calling those shots. Maybe past you decided that scrolling up to like 2 a.m. and not getting any sleep was a good decision, and now you've woken up groggy and tired. Maybe past you skipped all those workouts and said, hey, I'll start next week. And now when you look in the mirror, you were disappointed with what you see. Maybe past you played it safe, avoided risks and stayed in their comfort zone, but now you wonder why your life isn't exciting. Your past self chose those habits and developed those relationships or the mindset that you currently have without ever having to wake up in a world where you actually have to live with the consequences. They got that dopamine hit and they've left you holding your dick in your hand. Let's be real, some of those choices were good though. They're not all bad. Maybe your past self developed some great habits, made some great investments that have turned into success that maybe you don't even realize. But let's be honest, some of those choices fucking sucked. Maybe they procrastinated, maybe they prioritized short-term pleasure over long-term growth too much. Maybe they ignored what needed to be done and just told themselves, it's okay, I have plenty of time. And now you're the one paying for it. It's frustrating, looking back at your past self and thinking, why did you not just try a little bit harder? But here's the thing, they're not villains. They weren't trying to trap you. They were just doing what they could with what was given to them. But unlike an innie, you are not stuck. You don't have to relive the same loop, powerless to change it. Because just like your past self, your outie made the decisions that shaped your present, now it is your turn. Right now, you are the outie. You are the one making the choices. You are the one deciding what comes next. In your future self, they don't get a say. One day they will wake up, open their eyes, and find themselves in a world of your construction. And just like the innie in Severance, they don't get to negotiate. They don't get to rewrite the contract, they just have to wake up and deal with it. And here's the thing, it's not just the big choices that shape their lives. Yeah, quitting your job or moving across the country, maybe even to another country, will definitely change your life. But so will the things so small that they don't seem to matter. A single Oreo is not going to destroy your health. But the 4th Uber Eats order this week, man, that starts to add up. Skipping the gym once won't make that much of a difference, but skipping the gym once a week, that's also going to start adding up. One night of doom scrolling isn't going to atrophy your entire body, but damn man, once a week, that's time you're not getting back. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to optimize every single second of every single day. You just need to be aware. You need to be aware that your choices have consequences. Because, believe it or not, history is watching. And this history, like most history, isn't just written in the grand moments. It's written in small, quiet choices that nobody really thinks twice about. James Clear put this perfectly. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person that you wish to become. Now, as much as this may sound like a silly little platitude, this idea will make a fundamental change to your life if you really start embodying. Because right now, in this moment, you are casting votes, not once a year, not once a month, not once a day, not once an hour, every second. And the question is, are you voting for the person that you actually want to become? When you hit snooze for the third time, when you skip that workout, when you take that extra hit of a joint, when you light that cigarette, when you take that swig of your drink, ask yourself this. Is this how the person I want to be would be acting? Would they be scrolling for hours to distract themselves? Will they be breaking promises to themselves every single day saying, I'll start tomorrow for the 100th time? Would they be trading short-term pleasure for long-term regret? Or would they be doing what needs to be done when nobody is watching? Because here's the thing. Your future self isn't a stranger. They're not some abstract, better version of you in the distance. They are being created right now by every decision that you make. And one day they're gonna wake up. They'll open their eyes, step out into the life you built, they will look around. Now the question is, will they say thank you? Or will they wonder why you didn't think more carefully? The truth is, none of this happens in a vacuum. When you look at your life as a whole, it's not just a collection of disconnected moments. It's a chain. One person passing the torch to the next over and over again. And the truth is, you will never meet most of the versions of yourself. You will never get to shake their hand, explain your choices, and ask for a second chance. But they will know you. They will feel every decision that you make. They will live inside of the world that you have created for them. And they will either thank you for making their life easier, or they will resent you for leaving a mess for them to clean up. Right now, you're standing at the intersection of past future. You remember where you've been, but now you get to decide where you are going. You can't rewrite your past, but you can become the past that your future self will look back on with gratitude instead of regret. Because in the end, that's all any of us can really do. We can't be perfect. We can't have everything figured out. Nobody does. All we can do is pay attention, make choices with intention, and be the kind of person your future self would be proud of. So when they wake up one day, open their eyes, and witness the life that you have left for them, they won't have to wonder why you didn't try any harder. I love you so much, and I hope this video has pushed you in some way. Hopefully a positive one, but yeah, thank you so much for giving me your most finite resource, which is your time, and I hope that this investment has at least given you some ROI. I really appreciate you watching. Again, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment. I literally answer every single one of them. You can go back and check. Every single one will have an answer. I really appreciate you giving me your time and your attention. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!